All right, welcome back. Jed Irvin here yet again with another video in the series on how to reduce stress through automation. This time we're talking about something called the Q&A pattern. I just came up with this name yesterday. There might be a better name or a more accepted name, but you'll get the idea. So the Q&A pattern is writing a tool that can kind of hold your hand during a workflow, especially when only part of the workflow needs to be rerun. So let's say you have a multi-stage workflow and there's a problem in stage 4, but stages 1, 2, 3 were fine. So they generated data that stage 4 can use when you want to rerun the workflow. You want it to start at stage 4 so you don't burn all the time doing the whole thing when it's unnecessary, right? So I had a workflow like this around building my apptainer containers. So these were the things that could change that would affect what code needed to be run. So the furthest upstream, I had a base container that just had Ubuntu and Python in it. And then there was a def file for that, a definition file for that container. And the idea was that I would build that once, and then that base file was just sitting there waiting to be incorporated into the final container. I didn't have to rebuild it, which would have taken some number of minutes, like 5 or 10 or something. I just wanted to do it once. So if I don't change that definition file, I never need to rerun that. Next, closest upstream, I had a script that would generate a def file based on information in my spec. And so if I changed that script, I would definitely need to rerun the script, right? If I changed the optics spec, I would also need to rerun the script because the script consumed the spec. Then there's the optics code itself, the code that was the test harness. If something changed there, then I would need to just change that piece. And finally, if everything was the same except that there was a code change for the project, then only the last little bit needed to happen. So I'm just going to show you this code to give you a sense of what I did. It's actually not convenient for me to run the code now because of the machine I have handy. Let's start with the usage statement here. Python buildguide.py, and then the argument is the spec path. And so stuff is going to be pulled in from the spec. And then it's going to give me a message here. It's going to say, what is the lowest number piece that has changed to motivate this build? And then I just look through and I say, let's see what changed. Okay, 3 changed. And so depending on what the answer is, I have a set of steps that's run. Now it turned out that if I answered 1, that was when I would need to rebuild the base container. But if I answered 2 or 3, I would just need to do these steps. But if I answered 4 or 5, I would just need to do these 2 steps. But I didn't want to remember those details. I just wanted to rebuild the container. And so one of the motivations for this was that I was building containers for more than one project, sometimes at the same time. So I'd have a process where I was building something for the inter team, and I had another process where I was building something from the PVOE team. And bouncing back and forth between those two, it was confusing. Okay, where was I here? What have I done here? And then fairly often, something would go wrong in the build. Either I'd forget to do something, or somebody made a code change that broke something. So when I did a smoke test of the container that was built, it wouldn't run. And then I had to go tell the team, oh, it looks like there's a bug, and I'll need to redo this after you put your change in place. And so this container building might have to be run some number of times for each project, potentially in parallel with some number of times for this other project. It was very confusing to keep track of. I needed help. I needed somebody who could remind me what the heck was going on with these things. So one of the things that I added here was that I collected a comment in this process. I would just say, why this rebuild? And I would just type in a string, and it would put that into a log file. So let's take a look at one of these logs. I think I have them. Let's just find one that's interesting. Okay, here's one that didn't go well. This was a frustrating day. So this log file, if I couldn't remember where I was, because I'm bouncing around between these different projects, I could always go here and see what's the last thing I tried or what's going on. And so here's the first time I would be asked, why are you running this script? I would just say first pass or first. And then I put a comment doing the run script right. So there was a problem with this artifact called the run script. And then, oh, look, I forgot I had to pass this. And then I had to do this. And these might have been things that was wrong in my code or might have been the project code. I'm not sure. Typo. That's always frustrating when you get a typo that makes you have to repeat a 20-minute process. Positioning nonsense. This was a typo. It should say nonsense. Changed OPIX home to optics home. So these are things that just weren't right, that only became obvious when I was building the container and trying to smoke test it. So it's nice because I can always look and see what was done before. Now, typically I didn't have to look at these files. I would just run it again and type in the comment that said, why am I running it again? But it was a great stress reducer to have this partner, this script that was like kind of talking with me and saying, okay, it looks like this changed, and so these two steps need to run. Does that look right? And so I didn't have to remember it, but it kept teaching me every time I went through. It reduced my cognitive load, it reduced the amount of thinking I had to do. I didn't have to say, okay, let's see, what changed? Where was that in the workflow? Is that the thing I need to, do I need to do the script again? No, I can't. No, what order is the script? Yeah, it's just all in there. The whole process is embodied there, but it's a conversational design that makes it so I can sanity check things. Because if I put in the wrong number by accident and it said, do these steps sound right? And I'm like, no, wait, I must have hit the wrong number. Control C. So that's the benefit of having something like this, the Q&A pattern. All right, that's all there is for that one. I'll see you next time.